Good afternoon, folks. This is Deb Delapiano. This is your short take. And today we're going to talk about how lightning strikes twice. And it is apparently striking twice right now with the current GOP. So let's talk a little bit about Anna Paulina Luna, who has been elected in 2022 to Florida's 13th district. She is serving in the House of Representatives. But it looks like old Anna, or young Anna, I'm sorry, is kind of following in the footsteps of George Santos. And this is based on a pretty extensive report by the Washington Post. So let's talk a little bit about that. So let's go back to 2 years before her election, the House. All right, she was serving in the Air Force in Missouri, okay? And at that time, she professed to be supporting Barack Obama. Her name was Anna Paulina Mayerhofer. And, you know, she wore designer clothes and, you know, was a Democrat for all intents and purposes. So she did challenge Charlie Crist in 2020 and lost. But by the time she ran in 2022, she had gone full-on MAGA. She has recently changed her name to Anna Paulina Luna, according to her, to honor her mother's Hispanic heritage. Okay, so that in and of itself isn't an indictment of anything, okay? But she has become also a staunch advocate for gun rights now. And in fact, she was one of the Republicans who was wearing the AR-15 pin in Congress when the Democrats introduced legislation to ban assault weapons just recently. She's also one of the 21 Republicans who refused to vote for Kevin McCarthy. So she is a full-on MAGA, was in the same boat with all those people who want all those concessions and basically neutered Kevin McCarthy to give him a gavel that really is a joke. She claimed a very difficult and painful childhood that made her battle-hardened, in her own words, and wanting to fight for the American dream. She claimed to have survived an armed robbery at the age of 9 that traumatized her. She claimed that her grandmother died of AIDS from addiction to heroin and said that her husband and her brothers died the same way. Her grandmother's husband and brothers died the same way. You know, her mother, of course, is supporting this whole story, but other family members have differing stories to tell. So, according to them, both Luna and her mother were always part of a large extended family, and they were always included in every event. Her cousin, Nicole Mayerhofer, said, quote, "The whole family kind of raised her. My dad was part of her life when she was younger, and we all kind of coddled her. She was always part of everything, all these family gatherings and activities." So the odd thing is, while she was in the service, she would describe herself not as Hispanic at all, but she identified as Middle Eastern, Jewish, or Eastern European. So now let's fast forward that. She's honoring her mother's side. Her mother's last name is Luna. But her meteoric rise, and it was meteoric, started in 2018, where she began posting on social media about, guess what? Human trafficking and Second Amendment rights, which caught the attention of Charlie Kirk, who is a real horse's ass who runs Turning Point USA, which, by the way, when they talk about grooming children, Turning Point USA basically grooms young adults to become MAGA citizens. There's no other way to describe Turning Point USA. That's exactly what it is. He brought her in as the director of Hispanic engagement. And then she did challenge Charlie Crist in 2020 and lost. And then she started to spin some more tales on the campaign trail when she ran in 2022. She also said she identified as Christian, but she was raised as a Messianic Jew by her father. She also claimed to to be a small fraction of Ashkenazi Jew. Her family members, however, say her father was a Catholic and was not aware of him practicing any kind of Judaism while she was growing up. His father was Heinrich Mayerhofer, and he immigrated to Canada from Germany in 1954, and he identified as a Roman Catholic. And records do show that he served as a teen in the 1940s in the Nazi army. That was not unusual. Young people, kids actually, were required to serve. So that's not an indictment of him. It cannot be seen that way because there was no way out for those people. But oddly enough, all of these tales that spin around and around and around come down to people who maybe lived with her, like former roommates. While she complains or, cries about some home invasion that happened during these times, we're not talking about the armed robbery when she was 9. We're talking about another home invasion. Her roommate says that there was a break-in that occurred in their apartment when they lived together, but it was when they were not home. So there was no trauma involved whatsoever. It wasn't a home invasion. Let's put it that way. It seems to me that the Republican Party has a bunch of people who like to construct stories, and they construct them based on whatever the situation requires. And this is exactly what has been said about her by several people who know her. Whatever way the wind is blowing is the way she will position herself. There are enough questions here for us to start looking at it. And we will certainly be doing that over the next few weeks. But in the meantime, if you go to our YouTube channel, after this is posted, probably within an hour of it appearing on other venues, you'll have all of the articles that we have to date for you to look at. We will also put up her page, her congressional page, and her other information, where she spins incredible stories that, defy logic. But one thing is for certain, out there on the social media, the right-wing Nazis love this woman. They love this woman because she validates them. She's a storyteller. She's a propagandist. And she is serving in our government like so many people in our government who are out there with questionable histories, bad practices, and I don't ever see any of this happening on the other side of the aisle. There are no conflicting stories about backgrounds, histories, family, made up shit. She also claimed that her father was in jail several times, and nobody can find records of that. The Washington Post tried to find those records. They were not there. We have another George Santos in the making here. Here we go again. There is no limit to how many times lightning will strike when it comes to the current composition of the GOP. And Anna Paulina Luna is just the next step and the next stage in, the nightmare that has befallen the United States of America. So here we are. She is now in the halls of Congress. She is up for re-election in 2024 yet again. And I tell you, in all seriousness, and I will keep repeating this, you need to get out there and vote. I don't care, what your complaint is, what your, if you got something else to do, or you just want to sit one out. This is not the time to be doing that. These people are dangerous. She was recently seen at Turning Point USA claiming that George Washington was visited by an angel who warned him about communists infiltrating America. Get a clue, people. I mean, this stuff is not normal. This is not America. And I will talk to you all later.